Graham Barton out of Duke. Yeah, he's 6'5", 313. He looks strong and mean. He's just long and rangy enough to play tackle, which is where he played in college. But you love the dog mentality and the power to his game. So yeah, so he was the best lineman on their team. So he played left tackle. But I think you can see that he could play centre. He played centre in his freshman year for 6 games and was, based on those 6 games, was in consideration for all freshman team that year at centre. So he can do it. He was 2022 All ACC and 2022 second team All American. 23 wasn't quite as good, wasn't quite up there, but 22 was like a very decorated year. In 2021, he was All ACC academic. So he's got brains, which is what you want from your centre. This dude is a hard worker and clearly academic. He's studious. Great base. And you combine that with an iron will to not be beaten. He will not quit. He does not shut down. He's just very strong with this amazing base. But he's got a decent first step. He doesn't move like JPJ. That's the difference between these two guys. JPJ is an amazing mover for his side. Barton has got a first step. He explodes out of his stance. He's decent agility, not too stiff, decent footwork, keeps his feet churning in the zone game. He doesn't leave his feet behind like you see some of these guys do. And I think he's actually got better knee and hip flex than JPJ to generate power. Doesn't get played too high. My issues with him is his hand placement. That could be improved. He often ends up just hanging on with outside arms. It's just not a skilled area of his game. He's just a strength and power guy, not much sort of arm technique. So, but that can be taught. I think you get him working with a jiu-jitsu guy or some kind of martial artist to kind of really hone that. He's got the grip strength to hold on and the torque power to not be moved in college. So that's a projection. Does that work? You don't see much independent hand use. Just hands overall need to improve. But he's got okay timing. But he just tends to like shoot 2 hands and hold on. That's it. You rarely see him disengage and re-engage. And you do see him getting long-armed and nullified by a rusher. And he doesn't even attempt to like chop or do anything. He just hangs on for dear life. So that is a big area he needs to prove. But he does have like a decent jolt with that 2-arm throw when he throws it up. You can see you can see him like knock a guy off balance. Elsewhere, like his QB said he was the hardest worker on the team. Riley Leonard was his quarterback at Duke. I mean, it looks like he's the hardest worker on the team. He's got good awareness, picks up stunts and blitzes at tackle, which should translate well inside. Just the arm length is the principal lock, really. But I'm not too worried about that center. He's playing in a phone booth, he'll be all right. So it's just the hand skills. There were some struggles in pass protection at tackle. You see him oversetting. But again, I'm definitely at least moving this guy into guard, probably center for the Steelers. So those kind of issues won't matter.
Yeah,
it's just the power. I think he'll really benefit from moving inside. He'll play to his strengths, minimize the impact of his weaknesses, but then you've also got a guy that you could swing out to tackle in a pinch, because he's played there, well in college. So I think he's a really versatile player with what I think could give you Pro Bowl kind of level play at center or guard. So that's why he's a priority target for me, +1.
I've got to agree with you. I would not really like to see this guy go out and tackle. I wasn't really impressed with his work at tackle. I thought the sack numbers kind of reflected that as well. I thought they were a bit of a concern. I would definitely move this guy inside. The word I've kind of used for him is feisty. I think this dude is very feisty, and I agree with a lot of what you said. He's exceptional in some places, and like I think he's got really good mobility for his size as well. I think his engine is really good. I think he's a willing finisher as well. What I kind of saw from him was just he was going to scratch and claw to win every rep that he can. Another one of these high effort, really explosive, wanted to get in there dudes, and obviously having the center experience as well is really handy. I'm very high on this guy. I think he's definitely worth the sort of first round talk that people are talking about him.
I've gone with at value. I get a lot of what you said about his sort of positioning as tackle, but actually I did note that against Jared Verse he kind of held his own, which I thought, there's plenty of guys this year that haven't done that, and we'll come on more to talk about Jared Verse in due course. feel like hand placement's okay. Reasonable amount of leverage in pass protection. He absorbs power reasonably well with the sort of hop step, which is where you sort of throw both feet backwards, re-anchor. Always love to see that in pass protection. Can be quite explosive in the run game, flying out to the second level and then flattening a defender. Good examples of him kind of angling and leveraging a defender away from the play. Good amount of push shown on tape. Good, quick driving footwork, getting multiple steps in and quickly gaining ground on his opponent. I think his arms being shorter is probably 32 and 7/8 inch arms, which is probably why a lot of the consensus is that he needs to move inside. I think he occasionally struggled getting into position when he's kind of beaten and redirected and needed to kind of change his angle. I think he struggled with that a little bit. And I think he needs to just be careful against having his body weight too far forward. I feel like he lunges in some of the time. But yeah, interesting watch.
I do worry that he's in that kind of little bit of a no man's land where there's going to be guys above him on the board because guard centre. I think JPJ is a generational talent. This guy's one tick below that. I think if you were sort of picking at the top of the second, you'd snap this guy up. I do wonder that the positional value is going to ding him, and he's slightly awkward positioning being at 20 and taking a guy like this when I think you've got other talent at more kind of relevant positions. But that takes into account has the Steelers addressed centre in free agency. If they haven't, then they absolutely have to get a centre. So that would be a different situation.